everyone, welcome to Sanofi's booth. We're very excited to have you here for another session. We will talk about AI for better care, reducing missed opportunities in diagnosis and care. And for that, please welcome our next speaker, the head of digital patient experience, Fabrice Bocquillon.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Hello to you. And before we start with you, Fabrice, allow me to ask one question to the audience. Before we speak about AI for better care, obviously, I want to ask you a personal question. Well, let's say at least a question. We are all here potential patients, obviously. We are potential caregivers as well. And let's say 100 of us are very sick. Okay, imagine we're very sick, which we don't hope, obviously, but imagine we're very sick. How many will you think will reach actually full benefits of the available therapies? So basically, what is the benefit of the therapy? Will we reach the whole benefits of the therapy? How many we will do? 50 patients? 50, 10, let's say, we'll say 100. Who says 100? 100 patients will actually reach the full therapy. How many say 50? Raise your hands. How many say 10? Oh, wow.
A few tens.
Well, I can see that basically we have only 10% indeed of the patient which will eventually reach out the full protocol. So Fabrice, tell us a bit more about the patient journeys in a few figures.
All right, thank you, Christina. Again, welcome everyone. So, as Christina said, if 100 people are seeking for diagnostics, only 10% of them are going to reach the benefits of getting the right therapy and applying it correctly. So, I mean, look around you, right? We are the people, we are the patients, we are the caregivers. We are all different. Nonetheless, we have found that there are really 4 moments that matters in a treatment journey. If I go to the next one, which I'm trying to do, day 1, so we are still rehearsing. Those 4 moments are, okay, how do I get the right diagnostic? The second one is, how do I find the right therapy, right? You can be diagnosed with something, but prescribed with something that may not be completely optimal for what you have. And then you would think the journey is over, you've been diagnosed, you have been prescribed with the right therapy, but actually there's a second journey that is starting. You need to onboard on that therapy. You might be scared of injecting yourself with some product or a biologic. You might have issues, depending on the countries, to afford financially a given therapy. There are many reasons. And then finally, you are on therapy, and you've got a great product, and you're starting to feel better, and you say, oh, I'm not going to inject myself every 2 weeks like I was prescribed. I'm going to do it once a month, and I still feel good. Or I feel very much better. I'm just going to stop that thing because nobody cares. It's never fun to take pills every day, for instance. And at the end of the day, people are discontinuing. They are not adhering to their prescription. And then they get sick again, and they start over the process. So these are the 4 moments that matters in a treatment therapy. Whoever we are, we see that all the time.
And I understand you've created a sort of a tool or technology that can help to address these problems?
So yes and no. As I said, there are many different people, many different issues and friction points with the system in general, the healthcare system, us, we are part of it, the healthcare insurance, the governments. So what we are doing is actually creating a set of tactics, approaches, which are addressing each one of those steps. And we created a team for that. We have a dedicated department at Sanofi globally. And we created that department like a year ago with that noble mission to never leave anybody undiagnosed or untreated to the best available standard of care. But let me show you a few examples, maybe. Alrighty, let's move on. So again, you will see on the top, diagnosis, finding, onboarding, adhering. I just want to give a few examples on each. And I'm going to start with Accelerare. So Accelerare is an application and a website. And we created it to help the patients and the HCPs to understand rare diseases based on symptoms. So it's an AI. Right? We co-developed it with a partner. They are called Adhere. They are here somewhere, I think. And what Accelerare is doing is learning for gigantic amounts of data to understand what symptoms or what combined symptoms may be an indicator of a rare disease, and which one. So on average, it takes around 8 years for a physician or for a patient, let me say, to get fully diagnosed. If you have Fabry disease, Gaucher disease, any of those rare diseases, it's worse if it gets ultra rare. It takes on average 8 years to be diagnosed.
Which is huge, basically.
And do you know with Accelerare how much time it takes to get a pre-diagnostic? Any guess? Nobody? 8 minutes. 8 minutes. 8 years, 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Yeah.
And how many diseases can we actually diagnose? And maybe in how many countries is Accelerare available?
All right. So far, we are able to diagnose around 270, 275 diseases.
Wow.
We started recently. It's scaling, as we say. Accelerare is available in France. And last week, we released it in Morocco, in Egypt, in South Africa. And now we are targeting United States and Canada as our next steps, and many other countries to come.
Exactly. And what about, you said 270 disease. How many rare diseases are known to mankind?
So as I said, we are barely starting. We can diagnose 270, let's call that 300 diseases today. Known to science worldwide, we estimate, depending on the sources, that 8,000 to 9,000 rare diseases are known to medicine today in the world. So we have ways to go.
That's quite a lot. Let's get a little bit specific on one disease.
All right. So let me move on. So you see, okay, we apply general tactics, right? Help the physician get extremely quickly to a diagnostic and refer the patient to the right center of knowledge, to the right hospital, if you wish. But it's not enough. Once you have breached that step of being pre-diagnosed, we really need to find, right? We really need to understand what is that disease. And I'm going to give the example of Fabry disease that I just mentioned today, because this one is even worse. It takes on average 20 years between the onset of the initial symptoms for people to get fully diagnosed with Fabry. So here we are applying, again, right, vast amount of data, but this time very specialized center on Fabry. And what we do is to try to understand, okay, what was that journey? What were those symptoms? And how can we become predictive instead of reactive and say, oh, if I see this and that, and I'm waiting a month and I see that next step happening, I know that I have a Fabry patient. So we create pools of people, right? We call that a cluster or a segment, and we sort them by risks. So we identify population with high risks to find the Fabry patients, and because there is a genetic component to the disease itself, then we go through the family. It's an alert mechanism, if you want. Once we have found one patient in a family, we offer them the options to screen the entire family based on some specific genetic traits. And on average, each time we find one patient, with that tactic, we find 5 more patients, right, on average. So it's really a way to accelerate journeys. People who are not even yet in the onset, experiencing the initial first symptoms, they should have waited maybe 20 years fighting the healthcare system, and we find them right away.
So that's quite a lot, I think. And once we have been diagnosed as a patient, what happens next?
So it's great to have a diagnostic, but as I said, sometimes the system is not really capable to tell you what is the right therapeutic response to it. And there are many reasons to that, right? And think about it. If you live in a very far remote region in Africa, you may just not be able to walk 2 days to get to the right hospital. Or think about what I said earlier, 8,000, 10,000 diseases, and I was only talking about the rare. Think about medicine 100 years ago, right? What we were trying to push in the brain of a physician was around 100 diseases and 100 therapies to apply. Now in the same brain, we are the same people, right? We are trying to push 100,000 diseases, 200,000 therapies, and think that the physician have some kind of superpower and they know all of it and they will know exactly what to apply. This is not the case. This is not how it works, right? And there are many other reasons like that. So what we do is to try to help the system.
And talking about helping the system, what type of problem or issue are you trying to solve at this step?
So what we try to do at this step is to empower the physicians and the patients with the right response and tell them, hey, you have been doing this and this and that. We suggest we should be doing this next, right? For instance, if somebody experienced asthma attacks for more than 3 years and you are not controlled with basic corticosteroids, it is time to switch to a biological injection, whatever it is. The problem is that some physicians just don't know that because they never experience it. So if I take that very specific example, what we do is take one of our physicians and make sure that we go train those people, right? So that the system can bring the right response.
And do you use any other targeted strategy at these steps for different diseases and therapies?
Yes, so we are starting. I gave the example of asthma, respiratory, because so far, and what I'm showing here is called MEDIS. MEDIS is a Gen AI engine that is looking at all of those approaches, looking at the data we get back from the hospitals to tell them what to do, basically. However, so far, we are only capable to do it in dermatology and in respiratory. So we are going to expand. But now, something that works for asthma is not going to work for oncology, for instance. So we need to create new tactics which are more targeted, more suited to different therapeutic domains.
So from what I understand, you have diagnosed basically this rare disease. You have the medication, so everything should go smoothly then, and the patient should be treated.
Yes, unfortunately, as I said, I'm going to repeat myself a bit. Once somebody gets ready with the right prescription in hand, right, it's a second journey that starts, and that's what we call the onboarding, right? You are now becoming a patient. Before that, you are a consumer going to Dr. Google and trying to understand what's happening to you. At that stage, you know what's happening to you. You know what to do about it. However, now you need to get that prescription. And again, a lot of French people in the room, we approach that from a very powerful healthcare system. It's not the same everywhere. In some countries, you need to go through different steps before being prescribed. And sometimes you even need to know how much you are going to pay out of pocket. And I mentioned an example in Africa earlier. I can tell you in very mature countries like the US or Japan or others, the second journey starts by understanding, hey, do I need to pay a portion of it? Can I afford it? And again, once you get there, you may have a new set of questions, right? Diabetic people, they are going to start injecting themselves. That's something. And you need to go through it. You need to be trained. A nurse needs to teach you how to do those tests. And it's a new piece of the journey that starts. And if you remember the figures at the beginning, at that stage, only 30% of the population is actually going to go through. And what we are trying to do is to make sure that we maximize this. That's so that more people are actually onboarding on therapy.
Well, that looks exciting, and we have another session with you, Firouzeh Ovali, talking about the right action for the right patient. We will know more this afternoon at 2:45 with you, Firouzeh. And Fabrice, let's come back to you. I understand all these AI tools, with all these AI tools, they interact with the patient, I understand, yeah?
So they interact with the patient, they interact with the physician, and there are two different aspects here. One is to make sure that we create the right data infrastructure so that we generate the insights so that we can take the right decisions, right? But then, once you know, hey, I know what to do there, you need to bring it back to those people. And there are different ways to bring it back. One way is to say, hey, let's call the physician, or let's call the hospital. Another one is let's send an email or a text to the patient if they are okay with that. So then we apply different tactics. And actually, that's something that Firouz is going to discuss a bit more in details this afternoon. Once we have created that foundation of data and insights, the next step is to understand how do we activate it? What do we do there? And we created an entire platform for that, which is called iCare. Actually, that's the foundation. And what Firouz is going to specifically present this afternoon is next best intervention. What is the next best thing to do? And who should we call about it?
Well, you talked about a lot at how many patients are using this app, by the way?
So at that stage, we have around 1 million patients.
Wow.
On iCare, the foundations. A bit less on NBI. It just started this year. And then I'm going to show you an app that we are using as well. I'm going to move on to it. And here we just started. Well, I was saying, okay, we engage with the system. We want to engage with the people as well. As I was saying, hey, if you need to understand how to get trained to inject yourself, or if you need to learn that you need to take that syringe out of the fridge 45 minutes before it because cold injections are painful, right? We want to make sure you get access to the trainings, that you know what you need to pay, that you can refill your product, and so on and so forth. So we have started to create a mobile experience, right? Something that is very consumer. I think everybody here is used to using apps on a phone. So that's the experience we want to deliver. So here we just started. We have 15,000 patients on it only so far, but growing quickly.
That's quite a lot already. And I think I have to ask you, obviously apps are not good for everyone. Usually we say that a little older people, I mean, my mom, she's perfect with WhatsApp, but with the other apps, I'm not sure about that. So is that only new, let's say, young generation, young and less young, let's put it that way, but we're still young. I consider myself still young. Are using this app? The apps in general, is it easy for them?
Oh, that's funny. That's a good question because I hear that all the time. Say, hey, that's great what you're doing with AI and apps and website and things, but it's only for the youngest generation, right? The X and the Zs. Actually, and that's the power of data that I mentioned many times. Accessing that data, engaging directly with people, with patients, give us back a huge amount of understanding. We call that insights. And actually, one of them is very funny. But if you look through and through all the examples I presented to you, it's used at more than 30%, more than a third of those people are 65 or older. Right? So that concept of that tech is only for young generation, well, that's not what the data is saying.
It's probably also, I suppose, you have your health in your hands. So I suppose it makes you interact a little bit and care about yourself, yeah?
Yeah, and again, I think no matter the generation, we all got used to somehow to interact with an iPad or another tablet or an iPhone or whatever it is that floats your boat. And actually, that's what people expect today. They don't want to be called on the phone. They don't want to receive a fax. Who has a fax machine?
Well, that doesn't exist, Fabrice, anymore.
They don't want to receive a fax. They want to be able, at their own convenience, at their own terms, at their own time to engage with the system. So basically, technology, it's not technology for technology, right? It's technology so that we give people what they need, and actually people like it. And that's what we see because they are starting to really use it.
And I can say that basically you are making rare diseases, if we take Axel Rare example, more accessible to treatments, if I can say so.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, at the end of the day, there is a lot of data out there. The problem is not the amount of data. The problem is to find the right quality data that you can trust. And that's part of the problem that we are trying to solve. Right? I mentioned Dr. Google. I'm pretty who looked at something on Google about a treatment, about a disease, about something, and if you're not raising your hand, you are not listening or you're lying. Yeah, right on this one. We all do that. But we want to make sure that people do that in a safe environment, in an ethical environment, in a safe environment, and providing scientific information.
I have to say, even ChatGPT is Dr. ChatGPT now as well.
Yes, absolutely.
For anything that happens, everything can be suggested. I won't say solved, but suggested. Great. If we have to conclude, Fabrice, what are the key actions we take along the patient journey? What can we say about that?
Yeah, so I think there are three different, I said many tactics, right? If I sum it up, we are acting at three different levels in those 4 steps or those 4 moments that matters. One, we are trying to reduce what we call the diagnostic odyssey. Or the diagnostic journey. We are trying to really not just move the needle, but transform the way we can diagnose. I say 8 years, 8 minutes, right? Completely different approach to diagnostic. The second thing we are trying to do is to close the care gap. The care gap is what I mentioned, saying, hey, the physician may not know. You might be too far away from the right specialist or those kind of things. Make sure that the people can meet the right treatment. It's the care gap today. And finally, and that's more the example of the app and iCare and NBI, we are trying to empower people, whatever they are, the physician, the healthcare practitioner, if you see HCP on my slide, healthcare practitioner, physician, nurses, you name them, hospitals, and the patients to take the right steps with the right information at the right time. Right?
Great. Thank you very much. A great applause to you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have any questions? Don't hesitate. Yes, you do. Greg, if we can have a... No, keep it. We give, yeah, please. Thank you.
All right. So
bring it very near.
Very close.
Yes, thank you. Very
Wonderful.
close.
Okay, so basically, I specialize in movement disorders research, and movement disorders are a problem because the misdiagnosis from a real healthcare professional is a challenge, just with humans. What happens with AI with this kind of diseases where diagnosis is not that specific, and how can we help in research to build better tools so these AIs get better and better?
So that's a very good question. So movement disorder, as an example, is what we call a biomarker, right? It's an indication that something is happening. We call that a biomarker. What we do is we create digital biomarkers, right? So if I build on your example, is you basically film people, right? To take videos of them, and you try to detect pattern and understand, hey, I'm going to give an example in multiple sclerosis, like practical example. People experience more and more difficulties to walk, right? So let's imagine that you take movies of 100,000 multiple sclerosis people, and you understand that progression of the disease through the way they can or cannot walk anymore, right? The pace of walk is going to slow down. You train an AI with that. You take the data, you train an AI engine with that information, and then the physicians need to understand with the patients, trying to understand where they are and what therapy they should apply, and then you fill them. You take a video with them in session at the hospital, and you try to say, okay, walk, do me that stage and walk. And just with that, the AI engine, if properly trained, is going to be able to say, hey, here you are, and this is how you were walking a month ago, and you are walking 0.1 meter per second slower than you used to. Maybe we should try this next. No, I've been very caricatural and reacting on a very good example. We never do that. It's never one symptom, one marker, right? You need to combine different sources of information so that you get something similarly accurate, right?
Thank you. Yeah, there's one over here. Sorry, we have two up the back. We will. Fabrice is still here, huh? So no worries. Yes, please.
Hello. Hi.
You have to speak louder, please. Thank you.
It's better this way?
Yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
better.
In the first app, Accelere, it's for the HCPs, for the healthcare professional. And do you include also support for the HCP from another HCP within the diagnosis to help for diagnosis? Like a community or access to another HCP within the app to get advice?
I will assume I got the question absolutely right. I'm not sure, but let me try. So first, you're right. Accelere is not developed for the patient to diagnose themselves. We never do that, right? We develop it so that we help the physician to make a pre-diagnostic, right? That's what we do at that stage. And then we create a reference with the closest, it's geolocalization. If say, hey, you have been diagnosed, you might have Fabrice or Gaucher are the examples I had, then we are going to connect that information with the closest professional centers specialized in those diseases, right? What we are exploring at potential next steps is to bring patient communities in, right? And make sure that we can connect that information with actually very developed patient communities across the world. That's the next step. Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Thank you.
You give access to the specialized HCPs to support.
Yes, we do.
Rare disease needs this. Okay, perfect.
Yes,
Thank you.
We do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a question.
A little louder if you can. Yes.
Concerning misdiagnosis, because as you're working on rare diseases, how do you deal with misdiagnosis?
Yeah, so, and that's why I said a few times pre-diagnostic, right? Because we never say, we are not able, and I don't think we'll ever be able, and if you were here when Kauta was presenting, we are not replacing the humans, we are equipping the humans with better information, right? So what we do is exactly that. If I were to show you the real screens of Accelere, you will see that it will say, hey, I'm pretty sure at 87.5% that you have Fabrice, but I think at 67 that you might have Gaucher, right? So it's always like it's a hockey stick statistic. You see, hey, there is something wrong, and it's in that class of issues, and I believe this is this one, but that could be also those two other ones. And that's why then we create that reference to a specialized center, because now we need the real specialists to look into it and confirm the pre-diagnosis.
And does it mean you...
And we have one last question, if you don't mind. He will stay here afterwards. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Hello. Thank you, Fabrice. Thank you, Christina. So I'm coming from the clinical trials industry, and I wonder, is there a connection between the data that you generate doing this diagnosis and transfer these patients to a clinical trial that you have at Sanofi or another? Is there a way to link both?
So that's yet another excellent question. We are looking into it, right? At that stage, it's not happening. Today, we are working on what we call real-world data, right? We work on data of real patients who have been treated, and that's how we train those AI agents. But what we are thinking is, one, those agents should be developed during clinical trial. Right now, we work on things we know. If we want to work on things we don't know in the future, we'll need to develop those digital biomarkers as part of an endpoint of a clinical trial, right? So that clinical start informing AI, right? The other thing that we want to do is the other way around, right? We want to create those virtuous circles. Say, if we find people who are not properly supported today, maybe we could onboard them on clinical trials. But that raises a lot of ethical questions. I'm happy to discuss that. But it's difficult when you take somebody in the street and say, hey, I'm going to onboard you on a trial for a product that I'm selling. That doesn't sound right. So we are looking into how that could be accomplished.
Well, thank you very much. A great applause to you. And you stay here if we have other questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, don't hesitate to visit our booth. We have a very exciting innovation. We have also a corridor behind this screen, a corridor from R&D, research and development, up to patients. So don't hesitate to visit that. A fantastic surprise about the partnership with McLaren. And of course, startups and other innovations. Enjoy and see you back in 15 minutes for our next session. Thank you.